So I think that's exciting to talk about. And maybe the last point that I'll make is kind of the question, the very last question that was brought up there about the developing of the talent, specifically of some of the Oklahoma kids. I think it's one of the biggest maybe anomalies, or one of the biggest just not really understanding what's going on in terms of the state of Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma has changed their strategy a little bit. They're a little bit more national, whereas previously they stuck to some of the in-state kids a little bit more. I think it's a good point in terms of Walker's a good. I don't know if it's a lack of development or if he's maybe hasn't just lived up to the hype. Some kids develop a little bit late. One of those things. There's been a couple of kids that they've missed out on. In state, I think it's a big year. The talent in state is really good in 2022 and 2023. I think, in terms of the Booker T kid, I think Gentry Williams, who's a guy who's been he's a big advocate for the state of Oklahoma. So if Oklahoma loses him, I think that'll be a blow to their in-state recruiting. He's a guy it looks to be between Oklahoma and USC. I've seen a couple of crystal balls and a lot of talk towards USC. So if Oklahoma, obviously it's still a long way to go for him, but losing a kid like that would be difficult. Number one, he's the best player in the state of Oklahoma. He's a 5-star kid, really at an athlete perspective, but probably would be a corner or safety at the college level. But if Oklahoma loses him to USC, I think that's a blow. But it's, like I said, it's just an anomaly. It's kind of hard to understand why Oklahoma's missed out on so many of these local kids as of late, but it's something I think from a priority perspective in the recruiting side that Oklahoma has to continue to be a little bit better at.
If you are an elite program, and when I say elite, I don't mean right this second, but have the potential of being elite and have been elite, let's say Florida State, and Miami in the state of Florida, then you can stay home in Florida and just recruit your brains out and try to grab all the players you can. Not that those schools don't go elsewhere. Of course, they have players on their roster from other parts of the country, but Florida is just so rich in talent, so deep in talent, that you just stay there. And again, you do have pipelines because of coaching experience going elsewhere in the country. You do bring in players from other parts of the country. But if you look at the rosters at Florida State, and Miami, they are just overloaded with Florida players. Same thing in Texas A&M, maybe a little bit more difficult there because there's just so many schools that play the Power 5 and the Group of 5 level in Texas that they may venture out a little bit more. I don't have the numbers at the top of my head, but still, you can stay home. USC, you can stay in California. Okay, Lincoln Riley's got a bit of a juggling act to maintain the presence in Oklahoma and keep people happy within the state, to show that he's wanting the best players in Oklahoma, which, of course, the best players in Oklahoma are good enough to play at Oklahoma, but the very best players, not like the 20th best player in Oklahoma, isn't going to be some integral impact player at Oklahoma. He's either going to be a serviceable program player, or he's going to go play at Tulsa or somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So that is a bit of a balancing act that a guy like Lincoln Riley has to play in the state of Oklahoma because of the caliber of football being what it is.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on, Mark, and that's one of the reasons why that strategy has been more nationally and certainly regionally when you look at Texas as well. But I think also the point is valid that a lot of these kids that they've missed over the last few years are certainly 4- and 5-star kids. When you think about a kid named Josh Proctor, went to Ohio State. We've talked about Gentry Williams a little bit. There's been on and on every year, and not every year, but I think more times than not, Oklahoma has let some of the big time recruits slip out of their fingertips. So I think you're exactly right. Oklahoma's not going to concern themselves with the 20th, the 25th best, player in the state of Oklahoma. But I think, as long as it's a strong year and as long as it's a year that, you got a 4-star and a 5-star, those are the kids that you would like to see that Oklahoma get. Certainly if there's a better player, nationally or something like that, they don't necessarily have to have in-state, but I think a lot of Oklahoma fans are very old school in the way of their thinking, that maybe it means a little bit more for an in-state recruit to be at that school, and maybe there's a little bit to that, but recruiting's so much different now on the national scale that I think the kids are, Gentry Williams may be not that, maybe an atypical kid in terms of a guy that has a ton of state pride. Like, a lot of times these kids want to go to school so they can go to the league. I mean, that's their goal. That's, they want to win championships while they're here, but certainly, they want to, they want to make a career for themselves. So I think that's what a lot of these kids are looking at. So it's not necessarily about where you're from versus, how good that this program is, how good can they make me, and can I win a championship and then go on to the next level.
Yeah, we shouldn't be blind to the fact that we all go to college, for those of us who attended college and graduated from college, to earn a living, to develop yourself in a field in which you can earn a living. And for many people, they go to college and they're trying to figure out what that's going to be, and maybe they defaulted to something else. So for the football player, they want to give it that number one shot to make a whole lot of money and go to the NFL for a short career and then lean on something else later. And then if that doesn't work out, then they've got the degree. But why not shoot for the NFL and select the best place that can possibly develop you to get to the next level?